And let's get in Manju Seth, former diplomat, Tara Kartha, former director, National Security Council Secretariat, as well as Salim Samad joining us from Dhaka, senior journalist on the very latest that's unfolding in Bangladesh, the repercussions for India and the region in general and at large. In fact, Salim Samad, let me start with you, sir. As things stand right now, it's been almost 24 hours since, in fact, it is 24 hours since Sheikh Hasina has left Bangladesh. There is now an expectation that an interim government will be in place soon, but things are not going anywhere close to normalcy. Calm is still nowhere close on the streets of Bangladesh, giving credence to the fact that there could be more than what meets the eye as far as these protests are concerned.
Thank you for having me. Number one, you are talking on two issues. Number one is normalcy. There cannot be in any revolution which has happened in Colombo or in Kabul. You will understand the revolution, you cannot impose law and order. That's impossible because there is no police. The police have either vanished or they have taken refuge somewhere or they are hiding. So you cannot expect the military will do the police job. You cannot also expect the paramilitary who are in the border to come to Dhaka area. So this is already the students have organized committees for ensuring law and order. So we have to trust them because there is no other alternative. Number one. Number two is you're talking about interim government. Nothing has been finalized because there are 4 lists of names. One given by the students, the second one is given by the civil society, the third is given by the political parties, and the fourth is, of course, by the military itself. So, of course, the military, it will take little more time to decide to delete and add a few names and here and there. And hopefully by this evening, there will be an announcement of who are going to be in the interim government. And interim government has a lot of limitations that you have to understand, according to the constitution of Bangladesh or any other constitution of any other country. The
Okay.
90 days. 90 days, 3 months, 90 days. So in this 90 days, they will not be able to have enact new laws, or neither they can amend any laws. The only assignment or only activity they can do is hold a free, fair, and inclusive election. That's it. So the next job will be taken over by the government of the next year. And meanwhile, the police have just only hours before have gone on a strike because of so much of attacks on the police stations all over the country, and including the Dhaka city. So all of them have possibly fled. So they have.
You raised an important point, Salim. You've raised an important point, sir. I'm going to come to some of the other aspects that you said, which is that right now law and order remains a challenge. As far as the elections that you mentioned, we'll come to that later in the conversation, because first the interim government needs to be installed, and then will come the quote-unquote free and fair elections, given that now Awami League is unlikely to have any representation whatsoever in these elections as and when they happen. But okay, I want to ask this both to Manju Seth as well as Tara Kartha. Manju, let me start with you, ma'am, which is that given the heightened risks when it comes to the law and order situation in Bangladesh right now, it doesn't look like it's coming under control of the army right now. How do you see this for India in terms of the security challenges? I'll come to the Sheikh Hasina challenge in just a bit. I'm going to come to the larger issue of India-Bangladesh relations in just a bit. But first up, the possible humanitarian crisis that India is staring at, given the fact that law and order remains a big challenge right now. Ms. Manju Seth. Manju Seth, is my voice reaching you, ma'am?
There is some sound issue. I can't hear very clearly.
Did you hear my question, ma'am?
No, I couldn't hear it.
Okay,
the voice is getting disconnected.
Okay, I'll come to you. Tara Kartha, is my voice reaching you?
Yes, it is.
Please go ahead. Would you like to take the question? Go ahead.
Yeah, in terms of what is going to happen, I think the gentleman from Bangladesh has given a very It's a frightening picture,
No,
but
I'm
there
not
it is. It's
asking
going to
what's,
take.
no, ma'am. I'm not asking what will happen next. I think that has already been laid out by the army chief, that there will be an interim government and then elections at some point of time. What I'm saying is that on the streets of Bangladesh, calm and normalcy has still not restored. The police is nowhere to be found. Clearly, this is a situation that could snowball into a larger humanitarian crisis for India. That's my first question. That's my question that I'm asking you, ma'am.
No, you're right. In the sense, if the army can, I mean, it's not that it cannot. I disagree with what you said. The army can go on into a role where it can restore some kind of order, but that's going to be very difficult. I mean, I think the kind of role that students have played also in the past in Bangladesh, the students have played a very pivotal role. So getting them to come to heel is going to be a massive task, and you're talking of thousands of them. So in principle, the army wouldn't like to touch it with a barge pole. But if the police are not responding, I don't see what else they can do. Because the army still has a lot of respect within that country. The students have also seen the role of army as a positive one because they've stabilized the whole thing. They've got Hasina out. So it's seen as a stabilizing force. If this thing goes on, I don't see that they have any other choice than to go in and try and at least get some kind of order in critical places, because once that signal goes through, we've seen this even in, say, in things back at home when there are riots around. Once the first sign of stability goes through, so the temperature starts coming down. So the only thing is, well, it could go either way.
Okay. Let me get in Salim Samad back. Salim, then the fact is that Foreign Minister, External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. Jaishankar, said in Parliament that Sheikh Hasina is in India, she is in Delhi for the moment, indicating that right now she is evaluating her next options in terms of where she can get her asylum request sent and the entire process regarding the asylum request. But that is the only time period to which she can be in India for the moment. That's what was used, phrase again and again. What do you think are Sheikh Hasina's options? Where does she go from here?
Actually, Sheikh Hasina, possibly one of the reasons she has gone to India, because she was in exile in India for 6 years. So that experience she has with the establishment, with the security agencies, with the diplomatic in Delhi is very, very much known to her. She knows what can be done. I believe India doesn't want to take another liability for the second time to have Hasina to stay in India or provide him her asylum, which they have provided before. So you can understand there is a shift of policy in Delhi, of the South Bloc, that they do not, this time they don't want Sheikh Hasina to be in power in Delhi or in India, because they may not jeopardize the India-Bangladesh relations, which is now absolutely now in a fragile stage. So this is what I understand. But
okay,
I am not sure whether who is supposed to give her asylum, whether it's the European Union or England or London. So London, of course, is one of the best choice destination.
Right. And I guess some reports seem to suggest that this processing of the asylum requests has to be done from India, which is probably one of the reasons, or the only reason that she continues to be here. But again, for the moment is the phrase that was used by External Affairs Minister Dr. Shankar. Okay, Manju said, I think the audio is now fine. Ma'am, my question to you is that Dr. Jaishankar also talked about the fact that minorities are in a precarious situation. They are vulnerable right now in Bangladesh. Attacks have taken place on businesses, on temples in Bangladesh. Do you think that's, given the volatility right now in the country, that could lead to a bigger issue there as well, especially in terms of targeting of minority Hindus in Bangladesh?
Absolutely, already the situation, they're targeting even all the Awami League supporters, and in some ways, they think that the Hindu minorities there are also with the Awami League. And And I think that is where all that anger which was directed at the Prime Minister and the Awami League, I think they've all now going to, redirect it. And even they burnt the Indian Cultural Center there. So they are now going to, I think, because there's no law and order yet, and that's a very matter of great concern, not only for the Bangladesh government, but also for us, because if this insecurity, this lawlessness and the discontent and it continues, it's not going to be a very positive situation, a very good situation for India as well as for Bangladesh, I think. And given that, there doesn't seem to be anyone in command, though they are saying that there are these 3 student leaders, but nobody seems to be in control, it seems, because look at what on the screen, if you see what is happening, they're just going around vandalizing. So there don't seem to be students anymore involved in this. I think there could be other elements involved who have sort of hijacked the whole student issue and converted this into a kind of, it's total free for all, it looks like. And it's a big matter of concern, not only for the country, for the Bangladeshis, but also for us in India. The fact that we have a long border, we share a long border of more than 4,000 kilometers, I think we need to be very alert, very vigilant to ensure that there's no spillover. And because of this, unrest continues, there will be people running away, trying to find, refuge, crossing the border. We have, the borders are quite porous. So I feel that it is, important that this that peace be brought, and that's what was expected. That once the fact that the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned, the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she resigned and left the country. We would have expected that the unrest would stop, and that the students and other leaders would be able to control the situation.
Maybe there is more than what meets the eye in terms of these protests, given the fact that their primary demand, their first demand was met when the Prime Minister left the country yesterday and fled in and after giving her resignation, submitting her resignation as well. But the fact that those protests continue indicate that there could be more than what meets the eye. I think let's take a quick word from Salim Samad before we slip into a very short break, which is that, sir, there is clamour and there is a fair bit of argument that is being raised that a lot of it could be driven by foreign forces. How do you respond to that, that it could be motivated by some and many international vested parties or countries or interests when it comes to instigating the riots that led to Sheikh Hasina fleeing in those circumstances?
I'm sorry,
Salim Samad.
I do not buy these conspiracy theories. I do not buy these conspiracy theories of our international bodies are trying to hijack the students' movement. The students are still in charge. They are in charge. They are negotiating with the military, and of course, the military means the president of the country, who is still in his position. So the first is there is no opportunity for reform. But yes, if you are talking about the other vested groups in Bangladesh, yes, there is other groups which really want to fish in a muddy pond. So that is a very dangerous thing that has happened. Any revolution anywhere in the world, we have this revolution not for the first time. This is the second time in 1990. The Rashad, when he had to quit in the face of it was a similar riot, a similar agitation, simple attacks on, of course, again, the religious minorities called the Hindus and others, even the Adivasis were also attacked during that time. And of course, that time the ruling party, the ruling party today are definitely under attack.
Okay, so we come back to talk about that as to whether or not some of these protests that continue, the vandalism continue, gives credence to those very serious thoughts that have emerged as to whether there's more to these protests than what meets the eye.